Tonight, one of the most reckless robberies in years. 2 police officers shot along with a woman shielding 2 children.
And the hunt for one of the most prolific criminals in Britain.
First, the crime that caused such a stir last month. The murder of the young sports student, Sara Cameron, who was bound for the Olympics.
She phoned me up and she said, "Dad, I found a cheap ticket to Sydney, but I've got to take it now, and I haven't yet got my visa. What should I do?" She was going to work for the Sydney Olympic Organisation Committee. It was like a new life was about to open, as if she was going to really achieve what she wanted to do. I am a very proud father.
Sara's dad is English. She was brought up by her Finnish mother. But for the last 2 years, she'd been studying for a degree in sports management in Newcastle upon Tyne. Sara's friends take up the story.
On that particular night, the quayside was absolutely heaving. It was jam-packed with lots of people really up for the weekend. It was actually a leaving party for Sara from the college. We had agreed to meet for a drink down on the quayside.
Hi! It's mad out there.
I know, it's Easter bank holiday weekend and everybody is out tonight. Can I get you a drink? Oh.
It was quite busy, so we thought we'd move on to the Crown Posada because it was a little bit more quiet and we could talk.
Hope the weather is better.
We met another colleague from work. He came down at 10 o'clock and he brought Sara's present.
Just in case you get bored with the tinnies, here's something for all those Barbies, mate.
I wish I was off to Australia.
Dead lucky in the Olympics as well. Oh, now this is great. What is it?
Yeah, bubble head. Look, it's a corkscrew. Not a use you'd be at a party.
I hope you like it.
I love it.
We left the pub at 11:10. We just sort of like went our separate ways outside the pub.
We had a good drink, so we were sort of really up for going out and going clubbing, but Sara wasn't. We did spend a lot of time trying to encourage Sara to come nightclubbing with us, although she was adamant that she didn't want to come.
See you later, gorgeous. Are you sure you don't want to come for a boogie?
No, thanks. I want to go home. I've got work. I'm tired.
Stay in touch, yeah?
Make sure you're right.
I will, I promise. Bye, you lot. Bye.
Watch out for those Aussie surfers.
When you hear about this, when the news is broken to you, you simply don't believe that something like this is happening. I mean, this was not in the script. You feel like you're in some kind of film, some horrible film or soap opera. And you feel, no, this can't be right, this can't be happening to me.
Around 11:20, Sara entered Monument Metro Station and took the last train towards Whitley Bay. Police are trying to trace everyone who took a late-night train that Thursday a month ago. You might well have seen something that will point towards her killer. It's 15 minutes later, 11:35, April the 20th, the Thursday before the long Easter bank holiday, and maybe Sara's murderer was also riding on the last train.
She lived in Erzin, which is by the coast, which I suppose it is quite a far-out place for a student to live. From the metro, it used to take her about 20-25 minutes into town itself.
Shiremore Station, just before midnight. As Sara left, another metro travelling in the opposite direction towards Newcastle also stopped at Shiremore. Did you get off either train? If so, please call.
It's quite far out from the city centre, and Sara used to often complain the distance that she had to walk from her house to Shiremore metro station.
A local resident remembers Sara heading down Park Lane towards Ersden and distinctly recalls that a man passed him walking in the same direction. He then saw him cross the road and walk directly behind Sara. He thinks the man was medium build and was wearing a dark fleece with lighter coloured sleeves. Sara turned right onto the Ursden Road, followed by the man, who was now running. Then another witness. Just after midnight, a driver sees a man running after what he assumes to be his girlfriend. From somewhere, there was a brief scream.
An investigation is underway after the discovery of a body under a hedge near
when a woman walking her dog reported the incident.
It was lying under a hedge in a field.
As a fingertip search of the area around the murder scene continued.
Sara's naked body was found almost in sight of her front door. Her clothes had been taken away, along with her handbag and the corkscrew. But some of her clothes were discovered about half a mile away in a small wood beside Wellfield School. Unless her killer struggled across fields and ditches, he must have known the local paths here.
To actually come to terms with something like this for someone so young and had everything going for her, to be just taken away.
She had a short life, but she had a wonderful life. I miss her smile.
Steve, it's just a tragic case. We saw in the film there that Sara took the last metro from Monument in Newcastle city centre, then to Shiremore. So obviously you want to talk to people who were on that train, who might have been on that train with her.
Yeah, that's right, we do, but we also more specifically want to speak to people who got off that train or who may have seen people get off the train. And we also need to speak to anybody who was in Shiremore between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and particularly anybody who may have seen somebody hanging around the area. It's important to get in touch with us.
Now, some of her things are missing, as we heard there. A jacket like this jacket here she was wearing.
Yeah, the jacket's actually a gunmetal grey jacket, but it has appearance of being black. It's a fabric jacket, although it looks like leather. That's missing. Although we've searched extensively in the area, we still haven't recovered it.
Now, there's this corkscrew, isn't it? This is the corkscrew she was given, as we saw in the film. It's pretty distinctive, looks like a fish. Looking for that as well.
Yeah, it is distinctive, and people may recognise it.
And this perfume bottle too. I'm presuming what you're after is people who may have been given it or seen someone with it, which seemed a bit odd that they would have such a thing.
Yeah, it may be that somebody's seen it in the area. Somebody may have picked it up, innocently picked it up. And really what I'm interested in is recovering the property. Equally, somebody may have been given the property as a gift or sold the property. Anybody who knows anything about the property, I want them to get in touch with us.
Now, what about the man who was seen following her? What do we know about him?
Well, he was seen following Sara up the road to Ursden. He was actually last seen running behind her. He's a man, white man, about in his 20s. He's medium height, about 5'6" to 5'10", dark hair. But most distinctively, he's wearing what two witnesses describe as a fleece type top that has shades to it, a light shade and a dark shade, and maybe the arms are lighter than the body. OK, so anyone who might have... This man may have come home, he might have been covered in mud, I know it was a rainy night, or anyone who knows anything about him, it might be their brother, friend, he came home late that night, if anyone's got any information about that. Now, there's another case that's been in the papers today, the case of Pamela Laidler, who was found murdered about 20 miles away. Are you linking these cases, as is suggested in the papers today? No, we're not linking the cases. Obviously, I've spoken to the officer who's dealing with that case, but we aren't linking the cases. OK, Steve, thanks very much. If you can help us at all, call us in the studio on 0500 600 600, and that number's on the screen for most of the programme, or call the incident room on 01661 86 3000.
Last month, DCI Hamish Campbell revealed new clues on the murder of Jill Dando. Someone had been seen near her house on several days before the shooting, and Mr. Campbell appealed for names of loners who were obsessed with Jill or other women, and who could also be linked with firearms. In fact, some 20 viewers offered names, some new, some already in the system, and these are still being checked out. We also showed an attack in a Leeds car park in which a man struck out with a baseball bat. The victim finished up with a fractured skull. The day after the programme, a student contacted police and has been charged with GBH. In March, we showed 2 ladies locked in a lavatory. 2 men with a sawn-off shotgun had attacked the jewellery shop where they worked. A viewer came up with a name, and as a result, a man has been charged with armed robbery.
About 6 weeks ago, a tourist was at the British Airways desk in London's Victoria Station. You can check in baggage there for Gatwick planes. Who was this woman hanging around? She left with a piece of hand luggage. It contained a large amount of cash for entirely legitimate reasons. So who's the thief? She's slightly dumpy, around 5'5", and suddenly in the money. 0500 600 600 or the incident room on 020 7387 0354.
Now a right royal fraudster. Some say she's a dead ringer for Princess Stephanie of Monaco. With a stolen credit card from a nurse at a hospital in Kidderminster, she's been touring banks in the West Midlands, draining the account. But what's her real name? We'd like an audience with this princess tonight, so ring the incident room on 01905 757777.
Late on a Thursday night last month in West London, and a crime straight out of a gangster movie. As a tube train pulled into Latimer Road station, 3 men at the far end of the platform stepped forward. One produced a handgun and fired indiscriminately into a carriage full of passengers. They then ran away, pursued by a 4th man. Now, was he the intended victim? Bullets hit the floor, the ceiling and a seat, only just missing a female passenger. Just tell us who they are, or if you were on the tube, we want to hear from you. You can ring the studio number or call direct into the incident room on 020 7387 0354.
Who do you know from West Wickham or Shirley in Surrey, or has connections there? Or more specifically, do you know anyone in that part of the world who you suspect might be a burglar? Because if you do, you might find he isn't just a thief. Under the cover of common burglary, he's one of the most disturbing sex offenders you can imagine. And what follows is one of our most distressing appeals. More than 7.5 years ago, October 1992, in Shirley near Croydon, an 88-year-old woke to find an intruder. He pinned her to the bed, sexually assaulted her, then robbed her. Again and again he's been out selecting bungalows, maybe peeping at potential victims, then returning late at night. He targets 5 areas: Shirley, South Croydon, then further east to Orpington and nearby Sidcup and Catford, all on the margins of South London. He looks for elderly occupants with no burglar alarms and no car in the drive.
I'm 87 and I'm housebound, and I live in a fairly quiet road. The house was double locked all over because I'd had burglars before.
Whenever he can, he cuts the phone line, removes an entire pane of glass, then turns off the electricity.
I must have been frightened because I heard such a row going on. I thought it was like thunder. It turned out to be my heart. Then I tried to switch the light on by the side of the bed, and it didn't go on. I got out of bed. I walked towards the door. It was dark, even though it was July.
Okay, don't scream, don't scream. That's it.
I didn't attempt to struggle or scream.
I'll give you the money, then will you go?
His voice was soft and low.
That's all I have. There you are. Now, please go.
And then after that, I thought he would go. I did say to him,
please,
you realise that I'm elderly and I could drop dead with shock. But there was no reaction to that. And then he'd whispered one word in my ear. The word was sex. I simply said no and pushed him away. He didn't answer. He didn't say another word. I thought he was very creepy and hateful coward and bully.
In this case, he followed her around the house for hours. She gave him all her money, about £100, but still, he wouldn't leave.
Until it happens to you, you are not aware of your reaction. If I'd started to scream and kick and yell and all the rest of it, well, it just doesn't bear thinking about. And when he's captured, I hope he's sent down for a long time.
As dawn approached, he left, and that was just one of at least 50 offences. He's round 5'10", black but with a pale skin, maybe of mixed race, and sometimes out till 5 a.m. There's a curious pattern to the dates of his offending. A burst of activity in October and November 1992, then a break for 4 years. Where was he from Christmas 1992 to the summer of 1996? Was he ill, in prison, or maybe offending elsewhere? When he resumes in August 1996, there's a slower rhythm to the attacks, but then a blitz for much of 1998, including 6 in December, 1 on Christmas night. From then on, he's kept up the pace of his attacks until August of last year, when suddenly he stopped. But that time, he almost killed someone.
My aunt's nearly 90 years old. She lived in a bungalow, quite happily on her own, in a very nice area. She was going to quietly wind down, looking forward to getting her telegram and just generally having a nice old age. She had a trolley that she used to get her stuff ready for the morning. She always liked her early morning cup of tea. And before she'd go to bed, she'd get everything ready. She had a small kettle on there and her teapot, so that when she woke up, all she had to do was plug her kettle in. The first thing that Aunt remembers was this tall, dark shadow waking her up in her bedroom, standing at the end of her bed. This catsuit clad sort of character, just sort of waking her up by standing at the end of the bed, just saying he's not going to hurt her.
Don't scream, I won't hurt you. Where's your money? I want your money. They told me you've got lots of money.
What are you doing here?
I've got to get to Brighton.
Aunt's told us in quite graphic detail of things that happened to her. He more or less manhandled her from her bedroom through to her living room. We got called in to the hospital because they had thought that she might well not recover. And to be told that your aunt, who was in her late 80s, had been raped and that she was in hospital, very badly injured, and in fact her bowel had been torn. She was actually operated for about 3-4 hours. I was very lucky that she did survive. But she is still cross, which is good because, that's kept her. She hasn't gone down. And you think, what sort of mind does this?
Indeed, Duncan, nobody's going to try and protect this guy if they know his identity. The trouble is that the psychological profile you've had suggests that this is a secretive behaviour of his, that his friends who know, even if they know he's a burglar, won't know he gets up to this.
Yes, I think that people would probably know him as a skilled burglar. He's very methodical, he's very calm, he's very intelligent. He obviously knows the areas of South East London in which he operates. He may live alone, he may well be in a relationship. It may be that if he's in that relationship, a partner, friend, or even his mother may know who he is and his identity as a burglar. But quite clearly, as you point out, they may be totally unaware of his other behaviour.
Is it quite easy to eliminate people if someone rings up with a name?
Oh yes, people have nothing to fear. These offences, a number of the offences have been linked by DNA.
So
we
your
can
hope,
eliminate on that basis.
surely one of the best hopes then tonight is that someone who taught him how to do this burgling, someone who's been a burglar with him in the past, or been perhaps in detention centre, prison with him before, someone who's a fence, someone who's a receiver, who's taken, I know he's stolen watches, jewellery, things like that, somebody who's taken some of this stuff from him, may ring up. Of course, these are people who might be worried that you'll go and nab them too.
Well, I'd be interested in making a number of points. The first, that these people have absolutely nothing to fear in coming forward because, as I pointed out, they're eliminated by DNA. The one point I would suggest is that my team are absolutely committed to solving this crime, and I would encourage them to come forward. I'm interested in solving the principal offence, which is that of rape.
You're not going to go and raid their houses and do all sorts.
I'm not interested in the relatively minor other offences.
Now, you've got a close geographical area, because one of the things that you've been able to do is plot all these things back. You've come to this area, West Wickham, Shirley, Addiscombe, around the sort of Bethlem Hospital area down there. In fact, that's a psychiatric hospital. There are other psychiatric hospitals in the area. You've obviously thought that one through. So you're really targeting this sort of area?
Yes, the profile leads us...
Is that where he lives, or just has relatives there, or what?
The profile leads us to that 2.5 square miles. There must be some connection. He either has lived there or lives there. He may have gone to school there. There must be some connection. So somebody must know something, and I would urge them to come and make that call.
Well, come on, if you know anything at all on this one, there's absolutely no reason not to call. Please ring us here in the studio, or you can ring the incident room on 020 8284 9943. And incidentally, if you've been a victim, not just of this crime, any sort of crime, and you want to talk to somebody, you can call Victim Support Line. That's on 0845 30 30 900, and there'll be people there until 2 a.m.
Remember the CCTV of an attack on a man at Dartford railway station? The victim was badly beaten and had part of his ear bitten off. 12 Crimewatch viewers phoned in with the same name. 20-year-old Nick Baker is now serving 2 years for wounding. In March, we appealed on an attempted rape in Kirkstall in Leeds. Several Crimewatch viewers rang to help, but quite independently a man was arrested and has now been charged. 2 months ago, someone was attacked and terribly injured at a flat in northwest London. A man who watched the programme surrendered himself to police and was arrested. Last month we showed footage of anti-capitalist riots in London, and several viewers thought they recognised faces. As a direct result, 3 17-year-olds have been charged with violent disorder.
This next case is one I've been following personally, as it happened in Sussex, where I head up the CID. A Saturday night in January last year, and a dispute over a taxi outside the Ocean Rooms nightclub in Brighton. 42-year-old accountant Jay Abertan was punched in the face, hit his head on the ground and was knocked unconscious. Jay died a few days later. If you were at the nightclub, you might remember the attack and the fight that ensued. Now, I'm particularly interested in tracing this man who was standing outside. It's not the best footage, but anyone who knows him will certainly recognise him. Now, I need to find everyone who saw what happened or who knows anything about it.
Jay's family and, as Jeremy said, the police are so determined to catch his killers that jointly they're offering a £75,000 reward. His partner, Tanya Haynes, is here now. Tanya, thanks for coming in. I know this is an ordeal for you. First of all, who are you appealing to tonight specifically?
I'd like to appeal to anybody who was outside the Ocean Rooms nightclub that night and saw what happened to Jay, or to anybody who may not have been there but may have been told about the events of that night. So if there's anybody watching tonight who has any information whatsoever, I would like to say please, please come forward.
I mean, it's pretty likely that the perpetrators of this attack or the perpetrator will have talked about this. So if they know anyone's heard this, obviously they need to call in. This must have left a huge hole in your life and for your 2 children as well.
It's been devastating for my family. We were a very happy family, we were a thriving family. Life was good. The bottom line is Jay went out that night to celebrate a friend's birthday, promising to take our 2 children for a bike ride the next day, and he never came home. And for me, as I would imagine for Jay, it would have been the greatest pain is the fact that my children have been deprived of his love, his care, his guidance throughout their years.
How have you coped with this?
It's a good question. My sense that I hold on to most dearly is my experience of Jay's death When it came to the point where they had to turn off the life machines and Jay died in my arms, at first I was filled with fear, terror, what was going to be. But then I had a sense of calm and stillness, which was my experience of Jay, of his strength, of who he was in life. And it's that sense that I've held on to in my darkest moments. For instance, when the children have said to me, "Why did Daddy die, Mummy?" It's that sense of him that's guided me through it.
And who do you think, I mean, what difference will it make to you if someone is actually brought to book for this?
To me, it would be a huge difference, because we've not only had to come to terms with the loss of Jay, but the way in which he died and the sad fact that as yet there is no justice for Jay's death. Jay lost his life, I lost the man I love and the father of my children. The children lost a very special daddy. Many people lost a very unique man in their lives, and I believe there's somebody out there who could help us to at least find justice for Jay's death.
Tanya, I think you're very brave to come in and talk about it. Thanks very much. Let's see what we can do. The number to call is 0500 600 600 or 01273 665564. Or on any case, call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. And on this case, you can even claim that massive reward, £75,000. So pick up the phone now.
A lot of people are already ringing about those sex attacks on elderly people in South London, borders of Surrey. A lot of people trying to help, and we're really getting a lot of names coming in as well. And we're getting names too on the Sara Cameron murder. Particularly one name of a suspect looks quite interesting. Also 3 people who think that they may have witnessed the events leading up to that. One person is quite sure that they saw Sara being followed. We're getting lots of names on some of the other incidents as well. We'll bring you up to date with those later on. Jackie.
Most of us saw the footage of mayhem on May Day when the anti-capitalist demo turned to violence. 97 people have already been arrested, but among those we're still looking for is this man wanted in connection with damage to Churchill's statue. Also, this man alleged to have thrown missiles during the demo, and 2 men wanted in connection with the damage to McDonald's on Whitehall. 0500 600 600 or 020 7321 9251.
If you run a sports or social club in the south of England, you might have met this cheerful chap. He calls himself a plumber or a refrigeration engineer and makes out he's been asked to do a routine check, but he's more interested in his payment than your pipework. David Archer, alias David Gibson, is wanted by 4 police forces for fraud. If you know where he is tonight, help us flush him out. 0500 600 600 or 01202 22 3333.
The next face comes with a posh accent and a manner straight out of public school. Fiona Mont has changed her name by deed poll no more than 5 times, most recently to Jamina Chadwick. She skipped bail on charges of conspiracy to defraud over £250,000. Bogus companies are set up, things ordered, computers, office furniture, televisions, but invoices just aren't paid. Now, she left her car at Beachy Head, perhaps suggesting suicide, but we think that is just a false trail. 0500 600 600 or 0845 607 0999.
One of the fastest growing scams in the world at present is a fax or a letter inviting you to earn a lot of money, maybe millions of pounds, quite legally, by helping to move money out of West Africa. 3 Dutchmen lost over £1 million, and many others have lost life savings. But anyone at all can get the approach. In fact, this one was sent to my own office last week. City of London police have put out a warrant for this man, Abisola Fawahimni. He sometimes wears glasses, but we don't know if he still has that beard and moustache, but he still has, we're sure, a strong Nigerian accent. 0500 600 600 or 020 7601 2547.
An armed robbery on a Barclays bank last month. Now, the men involved didn't care who they hurt. Not only were 2 policemen shot, but 2 small children in a buggy would have been hit too if one brave woman hadn't shielded them by stepping in the line of fire. It happened in West Horton near Bolton, Monday, 13th of April at 11 in the morning.
Can draw against that straight away. Oh, okay. Thanks. Bye.
Get down! Get down! Get down! Get on the floor! Get down! This is for real! Get on the floor!
All right, Sarge. Hey, do you want one of these, Sarge?
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
Excuse me, is
Hello.
there...
Excuse me. Yes,
Look,
hello.
I've just seen 3 men going into Barkers. I think they're going to rob it.
What?
They were wearing balaclavas and everything.
Traffic warden 23158 to Kilo 1.
Traffic warden 23158 to Kilo 1. I know what I said. It wasn't my fault. Hang on a sec. Just hang on a sec.
She says she's saying there's 3 men in balaclavas and with baseball bats going into the front of the bank. Over.
Look, Lee, I'll call you back.
Hell. Move.
Quick, who's got the vehicle? Right, come on, then.
Open up! Get the door open!
Get open!
Come on,
get it
open!
Come on!
Get it open!
Get it open, hurry up!
Open the door!
Come on!
Open it!
Keep that open, boy.
Right, now move over there. Keep away from the counter and don't touch anything.
Okay.
We just had a delivery. Where's the cash? Now keep calm.
Get down! Come on, get down!
We just want the money. We're not going to hurt you. Now, open the security door.
Kilo 335 to Kilo 1. Shows that on the scene.
Roger, the scene. Keep us updated on that. See if we want any more.
Are they still in? Yes, stay out. There's 3 of them. They've got guns.
Go down the back, Sarge.
Okay. Can I come out? Okay, you, out. Okay, you, out of here.
Get back in here.
Get back in now!
Move back, please! Move back, stand back, they've got a gun!
Move back, clear the street, please! Move back!
Get
back! Get out of the way! Get back!
I was amazed 3 armed men were stood in the street when sensibly we'd expect them just to run away.
Stay back!
Move back. Get back.
Get out of my way!
Nobody's getting in your way. Out of the way! Wait! Stop! 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 Ah. Robbers have gone off in a blue people carrier.
The people carrier was stolen from the JJB Sports Park on Bradshaw Gate in Bolton on the 5th of April.
It's not through the gates of the rectory at the back of the bar.
Got it!
Right, you're right. Yeah?
It originally had Irish number plates, so who made up these false plates, J301TBA? The car was abandoned on Back Church Street off Marshbank. Where did they go from here?
Nick, pretty desperate men there. I mean, they just didn't care who got in the line of fire.
No, not at all.
There's one particular man you want to trace, isn't there?
Yes, just before the robbery, before the robbers came in, there was a man acting suspiciously outside the bank, and we're anxious to trace him. He's a white male in his early 20s, about 5'8" tall, with collar-length hair, and he's wearing a dark blue anorak. We've not been able to eliminate him yet and want him to come forward.
What about the getaway car?
What's interesting about the getaway car, it was stolen on the 5th of April and used in the robbery on the 13th. We think during that time it may have been stored somewhere, and we appeal for anybody with any information about the Mitsubishi Space Wagon. Please make contact with us. Did you see it parked somewhere or in a garage?
And what about once the car was dumped? What happened to the men then?
It's a mystery now. We don't know what happened. We've no information about what happened when the car was dumped. Again, any information, please, from the public, please make contact with us.
Now, you had some new information in just before we went on air about another car which you think might be involved.
Yes, on the 5th of April, the Mitsubishi was photographed in a speed camera, and it was in convoy with what we now know as a stolen dark green Subaru Impreza. Anyone with any information about the Subaru or the Mitsubishi, again, please make contact with us.
OK, Nick, let's see what we can get. There's a £30,000 reward on this case, so give us a ring here in the studio or the incident room on 0161 856 5959.
This next case is also a shooting. This time it's a murder, but there's another reward, £10,000 this time. But the police can't pin down a motive. Why would anyone want to kill a landscape gardener and tree surgeon, Terry Gibson? The shooting took place on Thursday the 16th of March at 11 p.m. in a side turning off Barnet High Street. About 9 p.m, 2 hours before the shooting, opposite the Moxon Street car park, one witness saw a white Cavalier parked facing the traffic. The passenger was a light-skinned Afro-Caribbean or Mediterranean man. He was aged about 30 and he fixed a hard stare as the witness went by. Still in Moxon Street an hour later, and a motorist nearly ran over a long-haired man who seemed Mediterranean. Yet another hour later, and Terry Gibson was returning home. He'd been at a football match and drove back in his pickup truck. He turned into his regular parking space off Moxon Street. The white Cavalier was last seen heading up Moon Lane towards Barnet High Street. Greg, Terry Gibson ostensibly had a legitimate business. Why would he be the subject of what looks like a gangland killing?
Well, certainly he had a legitimate business and he had an active social life. But what we have found out is that he compartmentalised his life. He was a very private person, and there's a particular part of his life where we've established that he associated with known criminals, that he was involved in dealing with antiques abroad, and we're particularly interested in this part of his activity. And we're particularly interested in an incident that occurred in August 1999 at a jeweller's in North London. It was a jeweller's that he used regularly, and he's gone into the jeweller's with a ring.
This is a facsimile of the ring you're talking about?
That's correct, yes.
Sort of a gypsy ring, really?
Yes, it's a 6-carat diamond, which I understand there's not many produced.
And worth a lot of money, presumably?
Yes, it's on a band of gold, and it was valued at £35,000. He's gone in there and said that he wished to have this ring valued because it was collateral for money owed to him in relation to a business deal.
So there'll be people involved with some sort of deal with him, and you'd like to hear from them, and there is, as you say, a £10,000 reward. We've got an e-fit of one of the people seen in that white Cavalier just before the shooting. Describe this guy to us. I mean, we've said Mediterranean looking. Do you know anything more?
No, he's medium build. He is Mediterranean looking. He's got long hair, and we also have one witness who saw, as the film depicted, a long-haired youth getting into the back of this Cavalier, and we're linking the two together.
Well, if you know that guy, I think you do, if you know that Cavalier, if you can get any of this together, there's a £10,000 reward. Call us in the studio, 0500 600 600, or the incident room, 028 358 1731.
Now, a warehouse theft which literally turned into a soap opera. Kent Police would like to trace this driver. One morning last November at a Dartford warehouse, he hitched a white Mercedes tractor to a trailer full of soap powder and drove off. Now, there's a possible link with 2 previous thefts of valuable computer equipment from that same place, and that may have been the target this time. The driver may not be in on the scam, but we do need to speak to him, so please ring the studio on 0500 600 600 or 01322 283 154.
A sticker now, a case that's over a year and a half old, but nobody's prepared to let it go. It's the hit-and-run killing of 60-year-old Margaret Connolly on the White City estate, which is less than a mile from this studio. Mrs Connolly was knocked down by a young man roaring round on a stolen scooter, which was later found abandoned nearby. Several witnesses have already said that the rider was barefoot and had no helmet. Do you know any more about him? Do the right thing and give us a call. 0500 600 600 or 020 7321 9942.
Just before dawn on a Saturday morning a couple of months ago, a man with a knife and balaclava threatened a cashier at a petrol station in Cricklewood, North London. But if we wind back the tape, you can see him without his balaclava as he walks in. He's fairly short and probably about 40 years old. That's the Cricklewood knife man. 0500 600 600 or 020 8733 3148.
5 months ago, a man with cerebral palsy found a new friend who offered to sort out his affairs when he went into hospital. Instead, the new acquaintance stole his money. Last month, as a direct result of calls to Crimewatch, Mark Tolley was convicted of 8 offences with 13 more taken into account and was sentenced to 3 years. Last month, we reported on armed robberies from building societies in Abergavenny and Shrewsbury. After a number of calls to the programme, a man has now been charged with 3 robberies.
One of my first cases on Crimewatch was the rape of a young woman in Hove, Sussex on New Year's Eve. After a local radio station picked up the story, a listener gave important information to the police. As a result, a man is awaiting trial, charged with 2 rapes and an indecent assault. Now, a lot of people have rung in asking us to remind you of the date of the murder of Sara Cameron. That was Thursday, the 20th of April. That's the night before Good Friday and the Easter bank holiday. So any information you can give us on that, please do ring in. We've had a phenomenal response on the case of this terrible case of this burglar who breaks in and rapes elderly women. We've had 30 names suggested. A prison officer rang in about a man who was in prison and who raped an elderly woman. There's one name suggested in the right area who works in close contact with elderly people and even suggests a good reason why there might be the gaps in these offences. There's a £10,000 reward. I don't know if that would prompt anyone to call, but there's a £10,000 reward on this case, so please call.
A lot of information too on other cases, and these are all crimes that can be solved, maybe with your help. Our numbers are on CFAX on page 621. You can email us at crimewatchuk@the.bbc.
Join us for the Crimewatch update just after 11 tonight, and if that's past your bedtime, we'll see you next month. Remember, we're on Wednesdays now, so that's Wednesday, June the 21st.
Don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.